All right. So welcome, 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 everybody. My name is Dr. Andrea Bowens-Jones. I'm a certified coach, speaker, and trainer. And you are tuning in for my July topic of the Brown Bag Virtual Lunchtime Series. So I'm so excited that you're sharing your lunch or happy hour or wherever you are with me today. And so I'd like to thank you for that. The Brown Bag Virtual Lunchtime Series are conversations designed to inspire, challenge, educate, while connecting us as a community. So I hope today, whether this is your first time joining us or you have actually joined me for the last two sessions, I hope that you leave a little bit of educated, a little bit of challenge, and a whole lot of inspired, because I believe today's panelist lineup will do that for you. It's a topic that I have always been excited about, and especially for this discussion where we're going to take it from a very broad range, from talking about mentoring youth all the way to working professionals and small business owners. So I'm excited about having an enriched discussion today. So before I kick off and kind of have our panelists introduce themselves so we can get into today's discussion, I thought it would be great to start off with a quote. We should always have three friends in our lives. One who walks ahead, who we look up to and follow. One who walks beside us, who is with us every step of the journey. And then one who we reach back for and bring along after we've cleared the way. And that's from former Michelle Obama and Shiro Michelle Obama. So what a way to kind of think. And I know we all have three girlfriends that look like that. And when we're with them, we're happy. One that mentors us and one that we're pulling together. So I'm going to go ahead and I want to share the poll, and then I'm going to have our panelists introduce themselves so we can get started. For those that just joined, please do just drop a hello in the chat. I see some more faces have popped up on the screen. I'm so excited that you're joining us today with it. So can everybody see? Hopefully you can see that. It looks like we have quite a split between those that have a mentor and those that do not. And as far as mentees, it looks like we have a pretty similar split there too, in terms of folks that have a mentor and those that don't. So it looks like we're talking to a mixed audience. So for some of you, you will be like, oh yeah, that sounds familiar. For others of you, you may have reached a different point in your career where you're starting to think about what mentoring would look like, or you reached the point where, man, you have a lot to give and you're looking to pour that into a young person. So I'm hoping that you'll get a little bit of that from our panelists today. So let's get ready to kick off this discussion. Who's excited? I'm excited. I'm always excited for these because I love having these conversations, especially with women, because I think there's so much that we can do to kind of empower each other. So let's get started. So for our panelists, you can unmute yourselves as you talk. Give your introductions, but also you're representing categories. I asked you to represent certain categories, even though you could probably talk across all. I want you to talk about the power of mentoring for your particular category. So first up, let's talk about the power of mentoring today's youth. So are you ready, Musette? You can unmute yourself.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you again for inviting me. I'm Dr. Bowens-Jones. I do appreciate it. And I'm loving this opportunity again. I feel the same way as you. It just blesses me to see so many people excited about this opportunity and to gain the information. However, again, I am Musette Hill. I am with the Office of Youth Services with the Human Services Department with the DeKalb County, Georgia government. I am the Senior Youth Services Coordinator. And in our office, we provide signature programming, and we also partner with nonprofits throughout DeKalb County, Georgia, to service our youth. We have a various of programs that range from ages 0 to 24. We actually just wrapped up our first ever virtual village where we provided services to over 500 DeKalb County youth between the hours of 10 a.m. and 7 p.m. So we were really excited about that. We are in the process of planning our fall virtual village, so the 2.0. So because of the fact that the DeKalb County schools has decided to go virtual. So we are also going to step into that need to address the need for the youth to continue to provide them with extracurricular activities once they're done with the virtual school. Thank you again for inviting me.
Okay. Let's talk about the power of mentoring college students new to the workforce. Misty.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Misty Flantroy, and I currently am a program leader at Owens Corning in Columbus, Ohio, and I lead product research and development for North American building installation. So, yeah, it's interesting to me as well. You're probably like, building installation and a woman, yay. So I have been enjoying this journey the last almost 2 years of learning about installation for your homes and commercial buildings. For me, I am reminded of the scripture that says, to whom much is given, much is required. And I would be willing to be able to talk about the power of mentoring for college students if I didn't talk about the impact of mentors have had for me, from guiding me in my career to being a sounding board of information for me and just being a different perspective. And so with that, you know, I take it upon myself to make sure, as I have a love and passion for reaching back and giving back to those in the community, as well as the young people who are joining the workforce, to make sure that they can have the best opportunity and the quickest opportunity to onboard into coming into corporate America. Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. You didn't say how you were stellar at recruiting minorities for Procter & Gamble. So we'll save that one for later on in the discussion, because you got to be able to share some of that, because I think for those that are mentoring college students, the better we can kind of prepare them for their first job, the easier people like you that are working on the recruiting side of corporate can do it. All right, Vicki Hamilton, you want to go next? Talk about the power of mentoring on the job for those professionals that are on here today.
Absolutely. First of all, I am honored and to be here today, and thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm looking forward to sharing some stories with everyone. I am the CEO of BWH Consulting. I founded the organization 10 years ago. Prior to that, I have many, many years of corporate experience. Now, unfortunately, I never had a mentor. And because of that, I understand the value of mentorship and have spent my entire career giving back to be a mentor to those in corporate America. I am a corporate strategist. I work around change management as an advisor to many C-level executives, and I am a leadership coach. So I'm excited to be here. I'm looking forward to the opportunity, and keep the questions coming.
All right. And thank you. And our last but not least, Lorraine, to talk about the power of mentoring small business owners.
I am really glad to be here today. I'm Lorraine Harrison, the CEO of About Marketing. And I have not had mentors in the sense that we think of mentors. I have had coaches that over my life, I've had 5 different coaches at different times in my life when it was time to go to the next level. And I have to thank Dr. Andrea, who has been one of those. But small businesses, I think finding a mentor, somebody that you can trust and bounce ideas off, is one of the things that can make you successful. My passion is helping small businesses to grow and prosper, because I have been an entrepreneur my whole life. And so I provide complimentary marketing reviews for small business owners. And that's how most of my mentoring has come about, starting with that. And I have some long-term people that I've worked with, and then I have some people that have been short-term. So it's one of the things I love doing, watching small business owners to be successful, and hopefully I can share with them mistakes that I made along the way and keep them from walking through the same potholes. So thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Okay, are you guys excited now? If you heard a little flavor from everybody, I hope you're excited. Even though I'm looking at some of the names, but thank you for those that turned on their camera so I can see your face, because I love to talk directly to people. So one of the things we did different this time versus the last few virtual, lunchtime sessions is, for those that registered early, you received an email from me asking you to submit questions. One, I thought it would be great to kind of not only develop the content based on your questions, but it would also help the discussion meet the needs of those that are attending. So thank you for those that submitted questions in advance. And I hope that I can get to all of them during this session, but also use the time to go ahead and put a question in the chat box should you have a question that comes up while one of the panelists is talking versus waiting to the end. I will leave some time at the end for Q&A in case there's some burning questions to wrap up, but please be a part of the discussion. We're all having lunch or whatever time of day it is for you together. So we're ready. So ladies, are you ready for our
Sure.
first question? All right. So this one came in and I thought, Vicki, I'm gonna ask you to kind of kick this one off because I think this one is right up your alley based on some of the things that you talked about. The question says, I am in my 40s and changing careers. I believe a mentor would be beneficial to me as I go through this journey. At the same time, I feel society will look down on me as not being intelligent at my age if I ask for help. How can I ask for help at my age?
First of all, whoever submitted that question, don't you ever say that because you are getting to be 40 that there's a challenge. I need you to go look in the mirror and say, I am great, I am great, I am great. Let's start there because it starts in the mindset. And I know that we've been beaten down a lot, and this is a time for you to go and elevate yourself. So I want to start there. In terms of switching careers, what I tell a lot of people, and even my clients, is that if you understand what you really want to do, let's start there. What is it that I'm really passionate about? Do you realize you have a blessing in front of you? You have a golden opportunity to create the atmosphere that you want to pursue. Think about that passion. Think about where you want to go. Then look at those that may have been there before. How can I connect with them? Is it a friend of a friend? Do I know somebody? Have I been introduced to someone? How can I get an opportunity to meet an individual who's doing exactly what I want to do? Now, some of those avenues can be by participating in webinars like this with individuals you may meet. It can be through going through organizations and events that they have. It can be through people that you previously worked with and getting in with their connections. You never know where those opportunities can come from in terms of who's connected. But find that person who is in that area that can guide you and lead you with the things to help you to make that transition. The other thing is, do not feel as though you don't have comparable or transferable skill sets. We all have a base and a foundation of learning something. The question is, how can we apply it to the new thing we want to do? And a mentor can show you how to do that in a way that is accepted in that new area that you want to pursue and move forward. So yes, there are opportunities out there you can find, and I will tell you, reading lots of articles online and then sending the author a note. I really enjoyed this article. I'd love to ask you some further questions. So there's a lot of things you can do on your own, especially during this time where we have lots of opportunity to work online.
All right. Thank you for that, Vicki. I think that was a great way to kick things off, because I think there are a lot of things you said in your answer that will lead me to my next question for any of the panelists to answer is, where do you find a mentor? Let's say you're really wanting one, you could benefit from the conversation. Actually, let's start it off with youth. I want to go in order. So if I have a high school student I think could benefit, how do I find a mentor for my high school student? And then we'll make our way through.
Okay, great. So for me, what I would suggest in that area, which is really, again, a benefit for the youth, we have so many parents and professionals that step in and they become a part of the PTA or their coaches or their advisors. So if I was talking to a youth, I would ask them, do you have a favorite teacher? And I would again ask them to approach that teacher to see about, would you be interested in mentoring me? Or do you know of someone that can mentor me? Also, a lot of participants, a lot of youth that we deal with, they go to, whatever place they decide to worship in. So that would be another area that they can start to look for mentors. So again, just to refocus, I would go back to tell them, and again, even now that we're dealing with this virtual setting, it's even more important that our youth have someone that they can actually depend upon, because the parents are in the homes working too. So they have another added, stressor that's going on with them. So we need to ensure that our youth have that background and have that backbone and that listening ear beyond their parent to help give them some guidance and to help deal with whatever our new normal will be.
Thank you. All right, Misty, what about college students when it comes to finding that mentor?
Well, for me, I mean, I would echo some of the same sentiments that Musette had. I think that never underestimate your network of people, no matter what area they are in, whether it's in your community, whether it is your professors, whether it's that job fair that you went to, whether it's a guest speaker who came into your classroom. And I do realize that everyone may not be as extroverted as I am, but what I would say is use those relationships that you have. Even your parents, if your parents work, they know people. If your friends' parents work, they know people. So use the relationships that you have to help you facilitate building those relationships in, the roles of, hey, I ideally want to do this. I want to do that. I would also say, right, your social media gurus, if you're young, use social media to your advantage. There are bloggers, there are people on LinkedIn. If you reach out to people and send them a simple note, you will be surprised at the answer that you will get, and the willingness that people are into helping you. And if not helping you, making a connection to someone who could help you.
Anything you want to add here, Lorraine, when it comes to small business owners?
Well, I think a lot of it has been covered, but never underestimate just the value of when you meet someone, having a cup of coffee with them, and just to get to know them more, because very oftentimes when you are finding out more about an individual, a mentorship or information or that you never dreamed you would get appears. The other thing is pray about it. I have several people in my life at this moment that I know God sent them because I needed them. And hopefully I've been helpful to them as well. So, but the networking and letting people know that you're looking for someone, because everybody has a huge circle of people, and most of us are very involved in connecting. Oh, I know somebody you should talk to, and whether we're the right person or not. So pretty much what everybody else has said applies to small business owners as well.
Awesome. And please do, if you have questions, drop them into the chat box. And I want to switch gears a little bit, and you'll start this next round off, Vicki, and anybody else that want to add in. Everybody doesn't have to answer that one. I should ask, Vicki, did you have anything to add to that particular one?
No,
before I give you a new question.
Well, all I was going to say is that it's one thing to say find a mentor. My question is, what do you be mentored in? And recognize that you can have different mentors to help you with different areas of your life. There is not one size fits all where there's only one person that can satisfy everything. You know, you might find someone that you like the way they dress and you want to understand, you know, about the professional dress. Someone that speaks well, you want to understand about speaking. Your functional expertise, you want to understand about that. So the first thing is understand what you want to be mentored in and why. The second thing is diversify your mentors. They do not need to all look like you. You should also have men and women as you are looking for mentors, because you want to understand the game inside and out.
Yes, thank you. And that actually took me to the next question, but I actually am going to pull a question from the chat box. This one's from Renee. Should a person have a personal and professional mentor? I think you addressed that one, Vicki, but anybody else to think about a personal one and somebody professional? Everybody say yes. You should have both.
I definitely agree with that.
Yes.
For me, I've had a mentor for about 20 years, and she started out as my professional mentor. She's a psychologist in the area, and it ended up being that she was my professional and my personal mentor. And at that point when it hit me, it was when my father had passed away, and she was the only person I could think of to call. So she played a dual role for me. She was helping me with my grieving process, in addition to continuing to assist me in growing to be a better person. So I do agree with what Ms. Hamilton said. To be able to have it very diversified, I had someone that was a psychologist that could assist me with my professional growth, but she was there for me also to assist me with my personal growth.
Yeah, and to add to that, I have people as well that are in my personal and professional life. And the people that are in my personal life, i.e., I use them for my connectedness for the community. There are goals that I have and things that I like to do in the community. I love working with youth, and this is my third city in the last 5 years that I've lived in. And as I come into a new city, I make sure that, you know, I find people who are in those positions or working in those areas in which I want to come connected to in my community. So I definitely have them in my personal and a good mentor. Dr. Jones is one of my mentors. And actually I met her because she was appointed as a mentor for me when I started Procter & Gamble 2005. And it went from being a mentorship to a friendship to we're family. Like her family is my family. So, and 15 years later, we're still connected.
Yep. Multiple states apart. Thank you for sharing that. There's another question in the chat box. This is for any of our panelists to answer. It's about the formalization of the mentorship relationship. Misty mentioned that it was, I was assigned because of the job. And I know, Vicki, you have done matching in the past with it. But Tracy Wood's question is, does everyone who has a mentor, does the person you consider your mentor know that you view the relationship that way? So do you need to have that formalization, that formal conversation that says, yes, you're my mentor? Vicki, you look like you want to speak. Go ahead.
I'll start it off and you all can join if you want to. But yes, first of all, understand that a mentorship is a two-way street. Don't you ever underestimate the power of yourself, your own network, and what you do, first of all. So when you're going to get a mentor and it's over a particular area, you have something to offer too. So in that two-way relationship, it is important that if you are expecting something, if you're looking for something, that you all understand what those ground rules are. Now, that can be the difference between a mentor and a sponsor. And I won't get into that, but mentors are there to really help you and guide you on how to do things. Sponsors are there to really support you and to speak on your behalf of things that you do. So you really want to establish that real clear delineation when you're in that relationship, so you aren't disappointed and they aren't wondering why are you asking for these things that they may not be able to deliver. If you're having that conversation and you let them know, I really admire X, and I would love for you to help me and guide me on doing X, right? you can accept what that looks like, and then no one is hurt by the end of that. So yes, I do think you need to have that conversation. And like I said, I've never had a mentor, but with all my mentees, that's what we do. Because my thing is what do you need? What do you want from me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's really important as well. I have a lot of people that I do, that I'm open to them anytime they need something, but having someone that you have designated as your mentor causes a different type of responsibility. And I have one particular person who sat me down and said, I'm new at this, and I admire you, and I need help. And would you be my mentor? That's the only person I've ever actually had to ask that. But the mentoring, a lot of it just comes naturally. So I think expectations are different when you have established that there is a mentor-mentee relationship, as opposed to a casual thing where you're just trying to help somebody out and with no responsibility as such.
Yeah, I just want to add one quick thing, Dr. Jones, is that Vicki, that was one of my points I want to hit on about mentorship, relationships being a two-way street. And I'm a person, I like to speak in analogies. And so I use this analogy when I explain it to people. I'm sure everyone on this call have a bank account, right? And when you have a bank account, right, you make withdrawals and you make deposits. I look at my mentorships, being a mentor or a mentee to people, as a bank account, knowing that I cannot always be the person that's withdrawing if I'm not making deposits, and vice versa. And so I think if you view it in that sense, and as well as, understanding that you have a role as the mentee as well as they have a role as a mentor, and vice versa, you'll always be in a winning situation.
Absolutely. While we're on this subject of two-way street, I do have a question about reverse mentorship, because that's exactly what it is a lot of times we think of a mentor, someone's much more accomplished, mentoring down to the person who's lower in the organization, or if it's a young person or new to the workforce. What about the other way? Can anyone on the panel speak to actually mentoring up? And in particular, I'm interested if there's youth that you have come across with that actually have helped, and they function as a mentor for the next generation to a professional. So go ahead.
Yes, ma'am, I definitely can. And it's so ironic that you mentioned that, because I find myself utilizing even my daughter more than I probably ever would have imagined I would utilize her, with me working with you and the age gap that we have. Sometimes I find myself going to her and saying, hey, Grace, come here, let me ask you something, because she's more in tune with that age group, so she can assist me more as I try to familiarize myself more. A part of my role with the Cobb County government is to develop programming. So again, something that would be interesting to me in my age range, a youth may not want to do that. So that ties back into the fact that when you are mentoring whoever it is, whether they're younger than you or they're older than you, they are able to give something back to you that you can put back into the community. So it's always good to listen to our youth. They sometimes may not be able to express themselves because they're still formulating, they're still developing, but they know how to get their emotions out. A lot of our youth deal with music. They write poems, they do spoken word, things of that nature, because they find their way, their path to express themselves. So as a mentor, for me, and if you're mentoring a youth, I strongly advise you to listen to some of the things that they are saying, because that too can also assist you in helping them to get more to where they want to be, because the key thing is the communication. And I think that's also vital in any relationship, and especially a mentorship, that you have that open line of communication so everyone can accomplish their goals.
Absolutely. And I'm going to read a question from our chat box, sort of related to this topic, but It's from Jasmine. When recent college graduates receive professional mentors, how do they bring value and create a mutually beneficial relationship for someone more senior? I think we hit on those points, but if there's anything from the panelists, if they just want to kind of put the nail in the coffin on it for this particular one.
Well, I will say that when I have always mentored the younger generation, especially if you are getting a mentor that's in the functional area that you want to excel in, no one knows it all. No one.
Mm-hmm.
And the value of what you bring is that as you're learning about what they do, think about how you can offer help and solutions. Because you're going to come from a different perspective. And so you automatically have value. I have several stories that I could share where I was mentoring someone who was just graduating from college that was looking at me from a technology perspective. And I needed to prepare for a particular project and rollout. And it was their insights that gave me the extra value that I needed for that project to be successful. And it was because they were looking at it from a totally different perspective in a totally different realm. So as I said, don't underestimate your value. You have it.
Awesome.
I have recently gone through the same thing, mentoring my granddaughter. And she was my intern this past summer. And she just has graduated and is, headed off to college. But I think I learned as much from her as she did from me. And so you're right, everybody has value. And we all need to pay attention and listen, whoever it is, because there's always something to learn from everybody.
Awesome. So I know we talked about strategies to kind of find a mentor, whether it be looking through LinkedIn or figuring out where your gap is and seeing if there's anybody in your network. But let's flip the conversation a little bit about the fact of how do you end a mentoring relationship that is maybe not working for you? Because it could be somebody on the call that now realizes, you know what, I'm not getting what I need from this mentor. I don't want to waste their time, but I don't want to be rude. So any of our panelists can speak to that, ending a mentoring relationship.
I can. I have actually had to do that. What I did was I put it in sort of a project management thing, and saying that thank you for all your help, but I think this project is I've probably got as much as I need, so I can move on by myself, and thanking them for their input and so forth, but without blame on I'm not getting what I need, but making it a project piece instead of something personal, and it seemed to work out fine.
Okay. Anybody else? Advice?
Yeah, for me, I thought about this very carefully because, I am a person who is all about relationships, and I believe though I am where I am today because of the relationships that I have. And so for me, I tread lightly when I think about, like, in a sense of ridding people in totality and or burning a bridge. And so my approach would be is I would definitely, just talk about the meeting frequency in which we have and start making that longer, right? And say, in the beginning, say, okay, I don't have as much as I need and vice versa. So maybe instead of us meeting monthly or quarterly, I'll reach out to you, every 6 months, or as needed if there's something that, I feel that I need or that we need to discuss. And therefore, I'm not totally just ridding that, because what I found is even some of those people, there is some particular area or something, right, that they may have that I still may need to reloop with. And so don't just close it off in totality, because people are busy and they'll understand, okay, yeah. And if it is one that is not of value, if you're spreading it out and you really feel that you're not getting anything, it'll get farther and farther distance, and then it'll dissolve itself in a sense.
Well, I agree. And the whole thing is you never want to burn a bridge. So you've got to ease out of it in a way that that works for both of you. That's great advice, Misty.
I agree with what both of you all have said. But to touch back on that intricate piece of communication, when you go into a relationship of having a mentor, that should be the foundation. You should be open and honest and feel like you can share your concerns with them. Because what I have found is that in most relationships, when it's not working, both people feel that way. It's just who feels comfortable saying first, this is not working. However, given that it's a mentorship, we sometimes think of it more of a half professional, half business. I don't want to hurt your feelings. I know that I signed on for something and I'm not able to fulfill whatever I signed on for, and I don't want to disappoint you. So I think that line comes into play at times when it comes to dissolving relationships. But I too am big about relationships, because you never know who you will need next week or next month or even next year. So what Misty shared as far as making sure you still have a respectful dissolve of the relationship. And I think as two individuals, whether you're two adults, you're a senior adult, more seasoned, or you're a youth, it's the goal of both to keep that communication open. Because you never know. I mean, I may have come to you just because I needed assistance with getting the job, and I wanted to make myself more professional and polished so I can land that interview. But once I get that job, it may be something on that job that I need more assistance with. So I totally agree with making sure that when you dissolve the relationship, it's dissolved positively.
And one of the tips that I have guided some of my clients to use is as simple as this. When you all sit down and you make your arrangements and your meeting to get your needs met, when your needs have been met, say, you know what, I know we have a meeting scheduled next week. We were talking about continuing this conversation, but I just want to thank you. I want to thank you for the time that you spent with me, the time that you have guided me in this situation. And what I'd like to do is take an opportunity to apply what you have given to me and then come back to you, if I need further assistance after that point. But I so appreciate all of your insights, and I just hope that the door is still open. Should there be an opportunity that I could come back, that something could come up later. But I believe that you've given me all of the tools that I need to move forward. So thank you. End it on a thank you. You don't have to, so that it's not drawn out, and it's not, that's another tactic that can help, but builds it on a relationship of a foundation that keeps the door open. Just another thought.
Thank you. Another question in the chat box, kind of related to when things are either not working or are working, is what about boundaries? And I think you hit on it a little bit. If you establish it up front in very formal mentoring relationships, a lot of times that happens when you're establishing the relationship up front. But how do you set up those boundaries to keep one person from draining the other person, or politely not allowing someone to overtake time? Now, from the question, I can't tell if it's from the mentor standpoint or the mentee standpoint. So I'll let you guys as panelists decide how you want to address that particular question about boundaries. I say transparency for the beginning.
From a mentor perspective.
Okay.
I think that when you're setting up your communication at the very beginning and setting up those guidelines, that you're very, that you're open with them and honest with them. I would always tell, my mentees, I'm extremely busy, but I always have an open door. But I need you to come prepared. What is it that you need? What is it that you need from me so that we're having an effective and a quality relationship of time? Because when it gets to the point that it isn't, then you begin to have you can begin to build some resentment that's in there. It's like, oh my God, oh, the phone's ringing again. You mean she got another question, something else she wants to really? I can't today. Phone, I just can't, right? And you don't want to get to that point. So I think that the transparency, the authenticity, and the being very direct in terms of your expectations and communication becomes really, really important to make sure people don't overstep those boundaries.
Right. For any of the other panelists, what about the use of agendas? Have you guys found them to be helpful? Do you use them with your professional mentors? I know I did, especially for people who were very senior in the organization, because I wanted to show that I valued their time, but it also helped me organize my thoughts about what I needed. What about the use of agendas?
I think it's valuable when you have a meeting to know what you're going to talk about, and so that both parties can be prepared. And with one relationship, we have an ongoing sheet that shows what we're working on together and where we are, who was the last step, you know, whose ball is in which court. And so I think I'm not sure that an agenda per se, but definitely something that you know what you're working on when you get together. So as Vicki said, so you don't waste each other's time.
Absolutely. All right, so what about advice? I know we're down to the last little over almost 10 minutes. With each one of you, for your particular area that I asked you to kind of speak on, what advice do you have? So starting with mentoring today's youth, what guidance do you have for someone who is considering being a youth mentor? If they want to find somebody, any advice you have for them with that?
Yes, if you are considering to being a mentor to a youth, I think the key component is to always keep an open mind. I find myself with the youth that I work with, I want them to accomplish what I would like for them to accomplish. However, we have to take a step back and understand that we have to help them develop their dreams, develop the things that they want to accomplish. Even though we know that they can probably do so much more, it's our job to help guide them and to push them to that area that we want, that we know that they can accomplish, which means that in turn, they will be accomplishing some of the things that they wanted to, plus some additional things that they probably didn't even think that they could set forth to accomplish. So I know I said a whole lot of accomplish, but saying all of that, we have to listen. Again, I keep going back to the communication, even with my daughter, and I'm her mother, but I still have to take a step back sometimes and say, Musette, listen to Grace. She can express herself. You know, she can share with you. You may have to help her navigate to what that goal may be, but listen and communicate and make sure you have that open conversation with your mentors. So that'll be the one thing that I would suggest that you do.
All right. And they absolutely need us. Today's youth, whether you have children or not, the high school students on the brink of deciding what to do with their life, sometimes hearing it from someone who is not their parent can be hugely helpful. So for years, I mentor. It's challenging. You grow a lot in doing it.
Yes, but, you do.
It's well
really
worth it.
And
awesome.
Just to add, I find myself sometimes, if I'm telling my daughter something and someone else comes back and say the exact same thing, even sometimes the exact same words, it's like a light bulb goes off. And then I have to put myself in a situation, well, you know what? You're mommy. So you only can do what mommy is supposed to do. So whatever her interpretation is of what mommy is supposed to do, I have to be accepting of that. And it's the same way with our youth. They are our future. So we have to position them to ensure that once we become, you know, even more seasoned and we're ready to retire, that they have the skill set to continue to make this world run. So it's very important that we manage and we give the youth what they need now. They have to have these tools. And the schools just cannot do it. The parents cannot do it. We all have to step in to assist them. And if you, especially if you have a youth that's reaching out to you for that assistance, you really need to sit back and say, okay, I really need to find a way to help this youth. Even if I can't do it myself right now, let me link them to someone that can better assist them as well.
Absolutely. What about you, Misty? For what piece of advice would you give someone who is or has the opportunity to be able to mentor a college student, somebody who's getting ready for the workforce?
I would say for both of the parties, to make sure that you both are sponges and an ever learner, and knowing that you know, you can learn from them as well as you're helping them. And then I think my other bit of advice is I'm very big on following up and following through. Just if you know, building any relationship, building a foundation of trust, and a way to do that is through following up and following through. If you say you're going to do something, do it. If you can't remember, follow up, then follow through. And that goes for both parties. I cannot stress that enough. And as Vicki said, with everyone being so busy, you know, right? If I'm expecting my mentee to do something because I'm putting in work, you know, right? I want to see that they're also putting in work as well.
Absolutely. Which takes it to you, Vicki. What advice do you give someone who is trying to leverage their mentors to help navigate their career?
Well, first of all, I think that in order to be an effective mentor, one of the things you have to remember is you can get where you are without either watching someone, observing someone, or somebody putting their hand back to help you. And I think we all have to reach back and help someone else. Because as we're holding hands to reach back, and you may be pulling them up, they may be pulling you over to help you. So I think it's a two-way street in terms of doing that. But I will say that the advice that I would give you if you are if you're a mentee looking for a mentor, first, understand what it is you want and need. Second, why do you need it? What are you going to do with it? Don't just go ask for something to have it and you don't have any plans, any strategies of what you want to do with it. So why do you need it? And what do you want to be able to help them with? The most effective thing that has ever been said to me from a mentee at the end of every session is, thank you so much for the opportunity, you know, we had today to talk about this. But how may I serve you? That is a very powerful statement. But how may I serve you? Because that let me know. I said, you know, it's interesting you asked me that, and I'm glad you asked me that today because I was doing so-and-so, and here's something you could help me with. What do you think about it? Something that wasn't even on my mind to bring up in the conversation, but the fact that they asked meant a lot. The fourth thing is that when the relationship is over and you are still cultivating that relationship with them, when you're no longer in a formal agreement, you know, congratulate them. Recognize what they do. Read any articles that they're in. Read information that you might find an article that's pertinent to them and say, you know what, I was reading this, I thought you might find it of interest from things that we discussed. That's how you can keep the relationship going even after the mentor-mentee relationship, quote unquote, formal has resolved. It can buy you a lot from the perspective of helping you in the future. I have mentees today that I started 35 years ago that I thought had just forgotten about all of the relationship. And they see me on things in social media and they send me, oh, Vicki, this was great. I thought you would love this based on the information I heard that you wrote in your article. It's powerful. It is very powerful. So I would say don't cultivate the relationship as well after the formal arrangement is over.
That's great advice. I completely agree, because as I look at my career in corporate and now on this second career that I have, a lot of those relationships have maintained, and they do contact you on social media, especially if you overlap with somebody during a pivotal time in their life. All right, for you, Lorraine, small business owners, what advice do you actually find yourself giving over and over that could help someone that's on the call today as a small business owner? You're muted. You have to unmute.
If I'm helping someone who is starting a new business, one of the first things I ask them, is this something you love? Small business owners work very long hours, work very hard. And if you don't have a passion for what you want to do, then you will get burned out if you don't have that passion. So that's the first thing. And if you have a business and it's no fun and you feel beat up all the time, then you may need to take another look. The second thing is to stay in their lane. Most small business owners, when they start, they know how to do whatever it is they're selling. They know how to fix a car. They know how to have a hair, they know how to do hair. But if they don't have business experience, then they have to get professional help, and they have to prepare themselves, because when you say, build it and they will come, does not work. And so hiring the professional people that can do the things that you don't have the skill set for. And in the long run, if you have someone who sets your books up appropriately, who helps you with your marketing, helps you with your business plan, if that's not in your skill set, you need to hire that out. And sometimes people say, well, I can't afford that. Well, in my position, then if you can't afford that, you need to step back and not go as fast, because you can't afford not to do those things. And then the other thing is, I give away this book all the time. Read The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. And it's an amazing attitude changing for people who have a business. And are you going to have a job, or are you going to run a business? And if you look at it when you start up and when you're new, it makes all the difference in the world in how you grow your business and make decisions.
Lorraine, could you please drop it in the chat box in case anybody didn't get that?
Yes, I'll be glad to. When I read that book the first time, I thought, oh my gosh, she's talking about me. I made every mistake that he talked about. Mm-hmm. So I just feel like that book, if you read it first, before you make all those mistakes, it'll be a big help. So I'll put it in there. And but mainly stay in your lane and hire things out that you're not good at.
Awesome. Any last questions in the last couple of minutes? We have 2 minutes left in our hour that I didn't get to, and it was so many nuggets. So I hope those that are on the call were taking notes. I know I have some notes on my page that I'm going to go back to. So many nuggets that were dropped. If you have a question, a last burning question, you can go ahead and put it in the chat box for our panelists. Nothing has popped in. Please join me in giving them a hand clap, because they were awesome. Yes. You guys were exceeded expectations about a topic that I am personally passionate about as well, being a mentor and having mentors help me navigate my life. So with that, I'd say thank you to everyone that attended today. Huge thank you to my panelists, because as my lunch buddies for this month, this session would not have been as enjoyable with just me by myself. So thank you for doing that, for coming out and participating and sharing your knowledge. Please do plan to join me in August. So this series will continue. And our next topic is finding and pursuing your passion. Another one that I'm excited about. So more details will come with that one. If you register today, you will receive a survey. So please take a moment and complete the survey. That's important because inside of the survey, not only do you give me feedback, but it also is an opportunity for you to vote on the next topics. So mentorship actually was number one in terms of topics. So you help not only make the content relevant, but you help decide on what's really relevant, what people want to hear about. So thank you for those that have attended in the past and for completing your survey in advance. And if you had fun today, which I hope you did, share your thoughts on social media. And for our panelists, I'm sure it'll be okay for me to kind of share your, you can nod your head, share your contact information. Okay. Sure. So when I send out information about today's session, the recording, I will also give you contact information in case you're looking for a mentor, and these fabulous ladies could be a candidate for that. I want to make sure. So any closing remarks from our panelists? Anything you want to say?
I just want to say thank you for the opportunity, and I hope any of the information that I shared was beneficial to you all.
I was thinking the same thing, so.
Ditto for you.
Yeah, thanks again, Dr. Andrea Jones. It's just been, you're a phenomenal person. You always have been.
Oh, thank you.
I have always Thank you so much for allowing me to speak with you and your audience. And if I may serve anyone in any capacity, I look forward to the opportunity to do so.
Mm-hmm. Watch out. You might get an email from me, Vicki. And always a pleasure to see you, Misty.
You too.
So, thank you so much, everyone. And thank you for all the accolades that are in the thank yous in the chat box. And yes, I will share their social media handles as well. That was a question there. So with that being said, lunch hour is over. Thank you, guys. And I hope you will come back and join me for next month's discussion in August. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you. Bye.